Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another Create a Sim for the Disney Save. Today we're going to be creating the characters that will live in the Atlantis residential that I just created for the save file. It is sort of like a mini version of Atlantis that's very much designed just for the royal family. And when kind of like thinking about what characters would be going where when it comes to Atlantis, because there are quite a few Atlantis characters and I ended up making a lot of them, but the majority of them are going to go into a townie household that will come as the next video. So today's video is just going to be the three main characters that actually live in Atlantis, and that is of course Milo, Kida, and her father, the king. All of the other characters will be living in a different household, those ones you know and love, and they actually translated over to the Sims 4 art style really well. So I'm excited to show you guys those characters, but just for today we're going to be creating Kida and Milo. I'm so excited to be bringing these two to the save file. They are definitely highly anticipated amongst Disney fans and my patrons, and I just love these two as a couple. They're very unique. So without further ado, let's get into today's characters. Of course, we are starting out first with Kida. Her aspiration is going to be neighborhood confidant, and that is sort of my way of interpreting that she is very much for her people, and I'm putting like a spin on that aspiration that I feel like you can get away with. Her traits are self-assured, adventurous, and generous. She will be in the freelancer royalty career. Kida is a very kind and peaceful princess, but she wasn't always. She was once a highly skilled combat warrior. Years ago, any outsiders that tried to approach Atlantis would have met their fate at her hands. She is fiercely protective and loyal to her people, especially her father. Being a future queen and having lost her mother already, she would do anything to protect her remaining family members from harm. Over time, the need to solve the mysteries of her people has outweighed her formerly brutish personality in favor of a more curious soul. Kida is extremely smart and funny. She is more welcoming to outsiders now than other royals and learns from them instead of jumping into fighting. She has also taken a liking to Milo due to his kind nature and willingness to help Atlantis. She's going to have some hobbies in the gemology skill that is a newer skill added with the Crystal Creations pack. A lot of the Atlantis characters will, especially the Atlantean ones. She also enjoys swimming, cooking, and combat exercises. All of the Atlantis characters, or I should say none of them, will have any fame. I think that kind of plays into the story where they're not really sure that there are any people in Atlantis, and it's sort of like a shock, at least to some people, to discover that there are actually people living there when they find it. So having them be famous doesn't really translate well to the system of The Sims 4. The biggest struggle with Kida was most definitely her hair. She has a very unique hairstyle that is both long and has a very blunt bang, as well as some additional strands that kind of lay down over her face. It's so unique that I knew there would be nothing in the catalog even close to it, but it did have to at least have some length and the bangs and any kind of like quirkiness as far as the cut. So I really did like this one because it has some more like blunt strands that are kind of cut at super different angles, and it makes for something sort of similar to how she is in her film. It's definitely not perfect, and I feel like it's the one thing about her that is maybe making her like slightly not resemble herself, because when you take her hair off, she honestly looks like strikingly like Kida from the film. It's just the hair that just isn't quite right, and I find that to be the case pretty often when I make characters. Sometimes I'm just completely off. Like, I've made characters before and then I sit and look at them for a while and I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. That looks nothing like that person, and then I'll restart. And then sometimes they look so close to their person, but it's just the hair that completely throws it off, or we don't have anything similar enough, and it makes their face sort of like change shape in a way. So I'll be keeping an eye out for future packs to see if we get anything a little bit better, but overall I think it does work, especially with the face paint that comes in. It actually comes in a white color, but if you manipulate the hues and things with the sliders in game, you can get the blue color that I am using for her. And then luckily for top and bottom and all the accessories, we do have a lot of great options for her. She does get shown wearing other outfits, I believe in the first Atlantis film, but definitely in the second one. When she fully takes on her role as queen, she wears some more formal Atlantean clothing that is a little bit less revealing, but still has like lots of cutouts and things like that. So I did give her more outfit options than just this one outfit that you are probably very classically familiar with seeing her in, just so that she has has a little bit of variety. I also did this with Milo. He does stay and live in Atlantis at the end of the film, and in the second movie in particular, he is shown wearing some Atlantean garb other than the traditional like military stuff that he arrives in. So I gave him like that military sort of look for his casual everyday wear, because that is probably how you think of him, or some of his like more professor kind of outfits. But I also gave him Atlantean garb so that he has everything, so you can kind of go through all the story aspects. And next up is Milo James Thatch. His aspiration is archaeology scholar. I know that he's not exactly into archaeology, but I feel like having something that is a little bit more specific and sciencey and sort of related to rocks, stones, is probably one of the better choices. His traits are genius, socially awkward, and a bookworm. He, for a career, I kind of struggled with the idea of this because I believe in the film he is supposed to be a linguistics expert or professor, and then we don't like have anything like that, but I could make him a college professor. I believe that is an optional career choice, or I could just kind of put him into science, or I could make him royalty because he does eventually marry Kida and then become the king of Atlantis, so he could be any of those things. I honestly don't remember what career I put him into. You'll have to check out the Tartosa tour video that'll be coming up in the next few days to see when we check out everything that the save file is updated with. Milo Thatch is an incredibly talented linguist. He graduated high school at age 11 and eventually attended Oxford University for advanced studies. He has a hard time relating to people, and others find him to be odd or outlandish in his behaviors. He takes after his grandfather's interests and studies in Atlantis and has always dreamed of finishing his grandfather's goals. He is brought on the expedition to Atlantis led by Lieutenant Lyle Rourke for his unmatched ability to translate and understand Atlantean language. This is a surprise even to Kida when they first meet, as Atlantean is a dead language that even she can't read. Milo is a little awkward, but he has a very kind heart. He will always do what's right, and when he realizes the people of Atlantis are in trouble, he jumps to save them. His hobbies include language studies, academics, science, archaeology, history, chess, debate, and some sports such as rowing and archery that he is not very good at. A lot of that information comes from his Disney wiki. I had seen the films before doing a lot of the Atlantis stuff for the save file, but I didn't know that there were so many details. Like, I feel like Disney wiki definitely pulled a lot of those details from various other places. They referenced a lot interviews with people who made the film, and I think that they may have had some books or things that kind of listed some of the life things that happened for the characters that might not have been mentioned in the movies, because there was a ton of information there for a lot of the characters, and I put all of it into the save file. Like, there's little details with a lot of the characters. One of them in the Townie's household got married, I think it was 6 or 7 times, so I put into her life stats that she had been married over and over and over again, and then if they had like college degrees, I put all of that in there for the characters, so they're very much based after all of that info. Hopefully most of it is accurate, as Disney Wiki sometimes is not. Something I mentioned in the last video that they brought up in the Disney Wiki is that Milo is actually 32 years old, and to me he just doesn't give that energy, but it's interesting that he graduated high school so early and then went to college, but he's still like pretty old. I expected him to be in his early 20s because of how early in life he sort of started other things, and it's just not the case. And then lastly, of course, we have the king of Atlantis and Kida's father. His aspiration is successful lineage. His traits are wise, proper, and paranoid. He will also be in the freelance royalty career. This king has a dark background. He was once power hungry and became a conqueror of the other lands and cultures. He caused the great flood of Atlantis that buried the city and left it in ruin, also losing his wife in the process. He lives with immense grief over his former actions and has become wiser from it in his old age. The king is not completely absolved of his former stubbornness and old ways of thinking. Him and Kida often butt heads over how to rule Atlantis and best solve the issues of the past. The king has a stubborn and sometimes seemingly unkind demeanor, but he has taken responsibility for his past mistakes for the most part. Now he is very much only focused on ruling well for the time that he has remaining, as he is not in great health. I was so nervous to create this character because I think he has a very distinct look to him, and just looking at the character references, I knew immediately that there were some things we were not going to be able to fully accomplish, including the hair being one of the bigger issues. There are no hairs in the catalog that are bald on the top but longer on the bottom, and I just wish we had something even similar, but ultimately I tried to just keep him him bald, and he didn't look very good. Like, he has a ton of hair. It's just lower back on the back of his head. He's got a very far back hairline. So I ended up giving him just a longer hair in general, and it does take away a little bit from his resemblance, but I think most of you will see what I mean. He also has an extremely long beard, probably one of the longest ones of any Disney character, and we don't have anything like that. So he is sporting the one that is the longest, but it's just not even that similar. And then the last thing that kind of like really makes it tough is that I believe he is technically blind and his eyes are sort of fogged over in a white. So we can only use those eyes. They are in existence in the game, but you have to be a spellcaster. Mama Odie has them, and I'm trying to find a way to see if I can sort of cheat them onto this character since he is not a spellcaster, and I didn't feel like giving any of these guys superpowers necessarily fit super well, or at least like how spellcasting works in The Sims. It didn't fit super well for them. But other than that, I would say I did the best I could with what I had, and you can still definitely tell who it's supposed to be. I'm pretty happy with it. Let me know what you thought of the characters from today's video in the comment section down below, and if you're excited for the rest of Atlantis and the end of Tartosa. If you'd like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you can do so by clicking the link in my description box down below or the one at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you all in the next one.